you were raw, you were in the moment, you were authentic, and people resonated with you. I mean, and that's a hell of a lot more important than a crafted message where every last I is dotted and every last T is crossed. You put it out there, you took a risk, there was almost no downside, but more importantly, you were coming from a point of truth and doing it. That's what happens.
In this episode of CEOs on Video, I sat down with Chris Joyce, the founder of Gusher, Movi, Exert, User, Carebox, Upvice, and Osolo Foods, in addition to many more. He's founded 24 companies over his career and has helped hundreds, if not thousands, of startups. He has a wealth of experience, and in this episode, we talked about why it is so important for founders and CEOs to take time to create video, how he has personally used video to propel the growth of his companies, and some very solid advice for entrepreneurship and business ownership in general that I think you're really going to love. I hope you enjoyed this episode of CEOs on Video and my conversation with Chris Joyce.
I find literally that when the businesses, at least in our portfolio and stuff, that operate under a certain tenet, and I call it show the sausage being made. When they show the sausage being made, regardless of what stage they're in, and I'm not talking about all the minutiae stuff that nobody's necessarily interested in, but when they really show the fundamental gist of what they're doing in an authentic way, that's the stuff that typically brings in, and I don't want to say the most views because it doesn't, all right, but it brings in the most business by far. So something may go ahead and generate all these damn views left and right, and you may see nothing from it, zippo, nada. Whereas another thing may only get a couple market. Guess what? Those are repeat businesses. Guess what? That's the investor that you resonate with, and that's what we've seen is that you don't go for the metrics up front, you go for the metrics at the tail end, and that's the most important thing.
100%. The view thing gets a lot of people hung up. Because, well, what are we paying for? We're paying for eyeballs because that's how typical marketing metrics work. That's the KPI in advertising of how much reach did you get? How much did you pay for that reach? How much did you pay for desired action? But if that isn't really, content doesn't need to be that. You can get higher business return off of 300 of the right people. And not even 300. It's like 2 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Of those 300. And it can be... It's never the thing that you plan out in the marketing meeting. Like, this is going to be the thing. We're going to release this, and it's going to bring on all this business. If you amplify it with a ton of ad spend, sure, maybe, because then you're just stacking the numbers in your favor.
I think the micro niching in a way is the stepping stones to the larger audiences per se. But even so, how much do you need as a larger audience to be able to move the needle in a big way for a small or a medium-sized business? You don't need much. I mean, if it's a gargantuan company, yeah, I get it. You're not even going to move anything and you need to operate at a certain level or have a certain return on it. But for smaller businesses, it can be extreme. And like even for us, my posts or whatever it may be, I'll do a little simple post and it may not get much, but sure enough, it'll end up going ahead and getting an F load of deal flow in. And then I'll have other stuff that'll be viral out the butt. I mean, it's something that gets shared all these times. It may be, just done almost in a half jest or whatever it may be. A post that wasn't even thought of gets a ton of views, but guess what? It doesn't convert at all. I mean, zero, nada. So what's important are the conversions, the actual sales, the actual, orders that you get.
Yeah. And it comes from thinking about it differently. You can't prioritize the view. And it can be challenging if you're looking at your deal flow, your pipeline, and you're trying to think backwards of marketing actions that are going to improve that and making it sales focused.
Right.
But the things that bring in sales are usually the things that aren't actually tied to making the sale. And it hurts my head to sometimes think about it because as a creative, there were things that I would spend so much time of, making sure the messaging is great, making sure the visuals are great, putting all this energy and time and thinking it's going to get shared and all the magic's going to happen. I'm going to be booked out for 6 months. You share it and you get likes, it gets views, and everyone's like, good job. And that's kind of it. You're like, great, thanks. But then you just share something raw that you shot on your cell phone. One of the best videos that I have posted on LinkedIn, nothing to do with business. I'd actually just gotten let go. I'd gotten let go from a job this is about 2 years ago now. December 1st was my first day of like being self-employed again, which is not a great time of year to have no deals at all. We just come out of Thanksgiving. My daughter was just born. Had nothing lined up. And
That's when all the bad stuff happens and good stuff.
Right. So it was not a great situation to be in, but I just put together, instead of panicking, I took a day. I just recorded, like, this is what's going on. We made a go of it. It didn't work out. And it was the best video that I probably have ever done for myself, based on the response that I got.
Yeah.
I got a lot of sympathy of like, oh, that sucks, rooting for you. But it closed, it's like 18 grand or something.
Yeah, but that's
for
because
a solopreneur.
Yeah, but that's also because you were raw, you were in the moment, you were authentic, and people resonated with you. I mean, and that's a hell of a lot more important than a crafted message where every last I is dotted and every last T is crossed. You put it out there, you took a risk, there was almost no downside, but more importantly, you were coming from a point of truth and doing it. That's what happens. That's a hard lesson to learn too.
And when you look at that's, I would argue, many would argue that it's easier when you're a solopreneur owner, that you can just make that decision. You don't have to run that by anyone. You don't have to, brand standard anything, check with legal, all that stuff. When you're in a bigger business, I get that it's hard to maintain that level of rawness. However, I would love to hear your take on this. I think it's what's missing in corporate messaging, and even companies kind of in that threshold of they're still in the SMB category.
Sure.
But they're higher than the average small business. They're not a mom and pop store. They're doing 10 million a year. There's a big jump there, but they start acting more like a corporation than they do a small business. Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity to maintain that authenticity.
It all comes down to, I think, the risk appetite of a business. When suddenly you pass a certain threshold into middle market territory. So you're above 30, 50, $100 million, all right? You become about wealth preservation than about wealth creation. And so with wealth creation, the beginning stages of a startup, even the first couple million after it, whatever it may be, you can still grow very, very rapidly for a very long period of time and take some pretty big risks. And you do that because that's the point of differentiation between you and somebody else. You're willing to have something that's more of a polarizing voice. You're willing to put your truth out there. When you go ahead and get a company that's more developed, I don't want to say that they're soulless, but in a way they kind of are, because really they're worried about their job. They're worried about keeping, their paycheck more than creating wealth and creating something that is different. And that's why it's so hard to penetrate, higher middle and higher companies, higher sales companies. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah. But looking at the smaller end of things, I do understand there becomes a lot of politics and bureaucracy when you scale to a certain point, because you're just not, it isn't about one person anymore. You're now much more, you're an entity, not an individual. But looking at the startup world, where you spend a lot of your time with Gusher and
100% of my time
who are getting their start, I think the story is what sells. And video and in capturing that emotion, that the why behind why you're doing something, I think is key, because it's what can set you apart.
I think the why you're doing something, and you put it in what's his face's words. Okay, there's other way that was around a long time before Simon actually did his message and doing it. All right, but when I feel that asking a person like why they do something, I even started off our conversation with it. The reason why I ask it, and the reason why a company should say it, is because it's literally the Rosetta Stone for interaction. It's the Rosetta Stone for what to say, how to deal with them, how to go ahead and talk. But it's also you're talking to your customer. You're talking to your core market when you actually say and express why you do what you do. It allows them to relate to you, and it allows you at a minimum to find your zealots. And if you find your zealots, that core group of people that really get what you're doing, many companies, actually the vast majority of them, can be funded using just those zealots to grow into additional markets, to grow into that middle market company and the higher market company that most people or most companies try to be. So it's a very requisite stepping stone when it comes to the development of a company. And if they pass it up, then they're doing themselves a disservice, because the vast majority of companies, if you ask the founders, what separates you from your competitors? I saw a stat on this. Something like 70, 80% of them say nothing. There's no point of differentiation. So, I think to myself, well, of course there is. You've got different DNA right off the bat as an individual. So you fundamentally have a whole different thing there. And that comes down to story. And that's a big deal that they don't necessarily see. It's huge.
Yeah. You said something really important there of there's so many people I run into where they struggle to stand out because they look at their idea, or maybe, let's forget startup for a second, because
Sure.
by nature startups try to be, they try to find a new angle in the market. You look at existing businesses, software developer or a financial advisor,
Right.
their model is pretty well established. You look, you compare them to anyone else in their market doing the same thing. Their services are pretty much, line
Sure.
item the same. But what sets you apart is, how do you think about it? How do you communicate it? Why do you do it in the first place? It's not that, you were a 6-year-old kid and you dreamt one day of becoming an accountant.
Right.
It's, there's something along the way that, why do you do what you do? And maybe it's not necessarily the service, but the change that it brings to the customer.
And
lean
even
into that.
but even if the story may not be to you interesting, all right, because it's your story, and many times people think, okay, I've got the story of how I went ahead and progressed and how I did this and everything else, and it's not heroic, and I didn't have all these things to overcome, and I didn't have these great big battles, and I wasn't smashed against the rocks and picked myself up, and now I have I'm at this different scenario. What people don't recognize is the vast majority of experiences fall within this range. And many times that range is not necessarily interesting, but the commonality of the story is. That commonality of story is what resonates with people. That commonality of story is what enables people to get you. And as a marketing, if you want to call it ploy, it's not even necessarily a ploy. You're just telling this, and you're able to attract the right people, not all the people, but you're able to attract the right people for you at that stage. I have a saying that I say to founders: don't fake it till you make it. Under no condition do you fake it till you make it, because what happens is you attract the wrong people. You attract the wrong investors. If you're one person, you're a solopreneur, and you're working out of your garage, and there's a space heater by you, flaunt that stuff. Flaunt your flaws, because you're going to attract the right people for you at that time. If some gargantuan company comes in and they want, and I'm making this stuff up off the fly, they want 10,000 units of your product, and you have no way to produce it, you can figure out a way eventually, but maybe that's not the right customer for you now. Or maybe it's the right relationship because they get where you are in the early stage because you told the truth versus bullshitting that enables you to build that company the right way. So don't fake it till you make it. Tell your authentic story. It's a big deal.
Yeah. And there's no shame in it. I think we
Just the reverse.
so often look at, where we are and by nature compare it to someone else and think, well, I should be there. Says who?
Right.
There's nothing saying that, what you've done should be the results that someone else has gotten. Because you're not them. And that's okay. It's not better or worse. You can look at their revenue and your revenue and be like, wow, it feels worse. But the reality is it's not your time.
Well, my best thing that I think of when I think in relation to that is having our children, my wife and I, okay? So we're not tree huggers or anything else when I say this, but she decided to have a natural birth at a birth center. And only because, we did the stats, everything else, talked to it, and I'm extremely scientific, numbers oriented, and I was actually sold on it. So anyway, they have a saying there: your birth story is your own birth story. Just because somebody had a difficult birth or an easy birth or a long birth or a short birth or whatever it may be, don't compare yourself at all. Your birth story is your own. And the same thing goes with business. How you unfold, you're the only person that's dealing with you where you are at the stage in life and where you are with the tools that you had and where you are with your genetic ability and everything else. But literally, don't compare yourself. It's going to steal all your damn joy. Just keep making progress and never give up. Pure and simple.
Hey there, if you are hearing this and you think a podcast might be right for your business, then you're in luck. One of the services that we do over at Evoke Media Labs, which is the sponsor of this episode, is create podcasts for busy entrepreneurs like yourself. Having a podcast is an excellent way to showcase your thought leadership, your industry expertise, and build connections within your industry so that you can provide something valuable to your audience in a non-salesy way. Nobody wants to download an ebook in exchange for an email anymore. Having a podcast lets you nurture and build trust with your audience and lets them get to know you a little bit before and up until they're ready to actually have a conversation with you. So if that sounds like something that you want in your business, shoot us a message and we'll see if we're the right fit for you to help you launch and grow your show. All right, back to the episode.
I've become more fond of the saying, you can't fail if you don't quit.
It's 100% true.
There's a lot of truth to it.
We call it the roller coaster of awesomeness, RJ. We call being an entrepreneur a roller coaster of awesomeness. And what I say to founders is there's only one person in this world that can actually stop that roller coaster. It's not a business partner. It's not your mom. It's not the government. It's not anybody else. And I say, who is that person? And they always answer what, RJ?
Me.
That's right. You're the only person that can stop it. So if you don't stop it, what happens, RJ? Where do you eventually end up?
Usually you quit.
People quit. But if you don't quit, what happens? You get to where the hell you want.
Eventually you win.
Right. Yeah. You get to where you need to go. You get to where you eventually set out for. That's it. So if all the whole secrets of business was, and it's a very boring thing to say, just never give up. But it's a lot tougher than people think to never give up. And it's a hell of a price to never give up, a vicious price. But just never give up.
Yeah. I've heard Alex Hormozi say a lot recently of it's not doing uncommon things, it's doing common things for an uncommon length of time. And it's the unfortunate reality.
It's massive delayed gratification. The longer that you're able to delay gratification, that's the biggest indicator of entrepreneurial success. For real. The ability to delay gratification. And that's why many times athletes are some of the most successful entrepreneurs. You may not know this, but a lot of founders share a common background of being extreme athletes. They may have done kung fu, climb mountains, professional surfers, whatever the heck it may be. And the reason is because in order typically to progress athletically, you have to have a longer time horizon to be able to do that. And so the people that are able to delay gratification, that are able to take pain for a very long period of time are the ones that end up winning it. Not the smartest ones, not the best marketers, just the ones that typically are able to take the pain and keep hanging in there.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's hard to learn that, especially if you weren't used to it growing up and then you start a business later on. Just a fun story on this. I thought I was a weirdo when I realized this about myself. I've never loved just doing something for right now necessarily. And I realized that even as a kid, I would go around the neighborhood and pick up cans, soda cans, beer cans, whatever, take them to a convenience store, cash them in, get my 80 cents or something. I would buy snacks with it and I would shove it in my dresser or in a closet and save it for later. Like, in a week or two, I'm going to want this way more than I want it right now. And I would just hang on to it. And I realized as I got older into college and I got into business first time and the second time, I'm like, that's actually a really important trait that I didn't realize that I had, that I wish I could impart that on my own daughter. I'm going to work really hard to do. But I think that's a big one when someone gets into maybe doing freelance work or starting the journey of entrepreneurship, realizing that, yeah, there's no get rich quick, but it's more than that. You might have to work 500 hours for free to make your first buck,
Yeah.
or, to really see something happen. And even then you might get a little bit of traction, and then 5 years go by before something happens, and it seems like it happens right away.
Well, I was talking to this person in content creation, okay? And they're one of the tops. I'm not going to drop the name, but very, very, they were like tops. And they were like, Chris, this is the one thing that I experienced. For almost 3 years, my numbers were flatline. He goes, I didn't make anything. I mean, nothing. It just wouldn't hit. It wouldn't hit. And then all of a sudden, it just started compounding and compounding and compounding. And so when it takes you a long time to go to 0 to 1, it's hard to compound. But the second you have one, when it starts compounding, it starts having an impact. And so again, that comes back to what you were saying, where don't compare and don't whatever. And it's, I was saying it's your own story, that many times, it takes a long time. And I'm stealing this from what the hell his name is. He was a jazz musician, Miles Davis. It takes a long time sometimes to play like yourself, and it takes a while sometimes to become yourself and to have that and grow it. And that's typically what that is. It's cutting your teeth. It's paying the dues.
Yeah. So you have founded 24 companies over your career. What's been the takeaway? I mean, you've gone through this process a couple of times. I'm hearing a lot of what you're saying. Have there been some, big mental shifts you've made over that time that, man, if I'd known this?
Well, fundamentally, when I started out, I didn't learn the golden rule early. Okay, and the importance of people. So I always felt early in my career, people were cogs. They were almost in a way meant to be used. They fit this, you use it, you go. And it wasn't really about relationship building. It wasn't about, building the people element. As I've gotten older, I realize the importance of those people fundamentally to the creation of what you're doing. And so I don't view myself necessarily as a business person. I just love creating businesses. It's my form of art, if you want to call it. I just can't draw and I can't paint and can't do anything like that. I like to see and bring things to life that weren't there before. Money is great. Money is awesome, but it's not the best yardstick at times. And so in order to go ahead and create what I do, I always need other people. I always need whatever it may be. I need a formulator. I need a developer. I need a videographer. I need whatever the hell it may be to put these things together to make them happen. And so, it just comes down to really that my shift on people has fundamentally changed. And I think a lot of it happened really when I had my first child. I think that did a lot of it. It changed the way that I perceived just many things in general.
Yeah. Of how people relate to you and what your role in life is and how you perceive them and in relation to that. Yeah,
but also, I think it's this. You're a father, okay? When I had my first child, I instantly thought, okay, well, why are you here necessarily? And instead, before I had that child, it was okay because I want to experience this and I want to do this and this and this and that. And then I concluded, no, it's to leave life empty. It's to get all that out, all right? To be able to put every last iota of what you are out there and to leave nothing, to try to take nothing. And only then will you have accomplished really your main goal as a human being, to untap as much human potential, your own human potential and others as possible.
That's a good goal.
I think so.
Yeah. So when of those, to bring this back a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
When we think about, communicating and story and video and how has that played a part for you just in the managing of multiple businesses, creating, so many different things across different industries? How have you leveraged it to communicate or have you, sure.
Yeah, sure.
A little of...
Well, let me tell you, we've always done video for standard advertising. So let me explain real quickly. So we might have a consumer goods company. We create video that either demonstrates the product, tries to reach a certain market. It may be standard TV. It may be, online ads, digital, whatever it may be. But a couple of years ago, I received a thank you note. Okay. I received a written thank you note. And I remember it to this day. I received this thank you note And it was a really nice gesture, this one company. And I said to my business partner at the time, I said, you know what? I go, every damn company, and I kid you not, that has sent me a thank you note has turned into a unicorn. And I went on this rant with them. Okay. I was like, and this is why they should do it. And this is why they should, blah, 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 blah. And so he goes, Chris, just put that up on the web and put it up on LinkedIn or something. I go, bull, BS, there's no way this can do anything. He goes, put it up on the web. Just do it. So I did it. I did it off the cuff. And this is what happened. Okay. So a day or two later, we got a deal from it. A day or two later after that, we got another deal from it. He goes, Chris, do another video. I go, okay, fine, I'll do another video. We'll just see. So whatever I felt like ranting about or talking about, I did a video. We got more people, more deal flow. Did another one. It kept coming. Then I got invited to do speaking engagements. Then before I know it, a third and a half of the venture capital entire industry is following me. Then I have family offices following me. Then I have high net worth investors following me. Then suddenly, we get even more deal flow and companies start growing. And all that came from video. There was no marketing done, nothing else. Just from that one video of me talking about the importance of a written thank you note and the impact it has upon people.
Yeah, because you shared a take on something that might have been unique. It was different. It was raw. It hit all the boxes, especially in a platform like LinkedIn, where everyone's this very PR'd version of themselves, and gotta button myself up and talk about you can tell that someone's a little different more often than not.
Sure.
When they're presenting on LinkedIn. There's no other medium. This is my soapbox that I always get on. There's no other way to communicate in today's world that can have the impact that video does. And I'm so happy that you fell into it naturally.
Yep.
Because I also get on founders and CEOs and owners like, it should be you. It should be no one that can speak like you can.
It should be part of their regular minimum monthly, but honestly weekly thing, because the ability to reach, the ability to communicate, the ability to influence, and I don't mean that in just a standard, hey, take a look at me on my pictures, but to actually have an influence is unparalleled. There's nothing like it. And it's also out there forever. So if you want it to be. So if you have something with video, it will resonate and find its people. I have people to this day. They send me messages on LinkedIn. They're like, oh my God, thank you for that message. It changed my life. I know I'm not operating in a vacuum. I'm not alone. I'm not whatever. And I didn't have any intent to do that. But sure enough, you can see I'm getting goosebumps because of the impact that video does have upon people. It's tremendous.
Yeah.
It should be a condition of every founder to be doing that.
I agree. At least one or two a week, because when you're running the company, time is your enemy.
Yep.
Right? There's a million things for you to work on, but most of them are linear. You do it once and then you have to repeat it. Meetings, presentations, whatever. Like, you're just going to keep doing them forever, for eternity. But video is a compounding effort. You put something out, you put out one video a week. Okay, great. You're not going to see a lot necessarily right away. Sometimes you might, like in your case, if you already have an existing bedrock of some following, some credibility, a position of authority to speak from. But that video could continue working next month, next year, 3 years from now, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And very little compounds the same way.
No doubt. But RJ, even what you touched on right there, like they sit in meetings all day, right? And it may not be that productive. I say to myself, all right, well, that's a form of seeing the sausage being made. There's content there that could be creative. They simply just press the record button on their meetings if they're handling Zoom meetings, and it doesn't have to be that they're fundamentally answering some great question as to why we're here. What they're doing is just sharing what they're about, how they derive it, how they come to the conclusion or solve problems, how they handle it, what problems they're having, what issues they're having. That right there can bring in a lot of unexpected business, a lot of unexpected contact. Really, it's something that's a big deal.
I agree. In my hot take for everyone who's like, but how would I do that? Most of you are completely willing to spend $1,000 a day on to Facebook or Google or YouTube or whatever, because you just approve that budget and, you run your numbers and think, well, if, we know our average customer value, we're going to get this cost per action, or this return, just run it and it'll all play out. Take that $1,000 a day and feed it into content production and do it for like 4 months. And it will grow in a way that advertising never will, because if you stop funneling money to Facebook or whoever, it ends. And content doesn't work that way. You publish it and it builds a library that can grow, versus ad spend where it's one time and over.
Right. But you said the key word, that grows. So you're going to have this content that's created. So that's going to be a certain form of stickiness over time. It just has it. I mean, no doubt about it. But also you have the ability to iterate. You can see what works, what doesn't. You can see these slight changes. Maybe it's different players, different people, different whatever. I found that my best stuff that and I write this stuff, I wake up in the middle of the night and I write it. I don't sit there and go, okay, it's Monday morning, I need to do this and create it. Usually the stuff that I do that's really, really planned doesn't do anything. And the stuff I wake up in the middle of the night and go with, that's the stuff that works. And so, it's kind of like training yourself to almost in a way put down your thoughts in real time. That results in some of the best content. It's not sitting there going after, well, how do we go after this market? It's literally putting it out there and seeing what zealots come back. Does this relate? And working it out that way many times. At least I found it.
Absolutely. I think this is a fantastic place to wrap things up here.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of CEOs on Video. I hope you got something valuable from it. If you liked this episode of CEOs on Video, be sure to let us know by giving us a follow. Leave us a rating on Apple Music. It would mean the world to us. So let us know what you liked, what you didn't, and if there's anything that we can do to help you, be sure to reach out. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next one.